That morning, I realized something was wrong, not from what my parents said, but from what they didn't say. They used to call me sweetheart. They used to tell me I was the responsible one, the one who made the family proud. And then suddenly, without a warning, I was nothing but a problem in their eyes. I woke up to a notification on my phone that would end every illusion I ever had about loyalty and blood. Notice of complaint, filing of civil action. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't a mistake, it wasn't a drunk message. It was a PDF attachment from a law office downtown. My name was on it, my parents' names were on it, and the words underneath felt like a punch straight to my ribs. Plaintiffs Robert and Marta Hayes, defendant Alois Hayes. Yeah, me, their daughter, the one they raised, the one they said they loved. My name is Alois, I'm 24, and this is the story of how my own parents tried to rip my first home away from me. Because they said it should belong to my older sister, Avery, the real daughter, the one they always chose. And if you think that sentence sounds cruel, wait until you hear what they told the judge in court. I never thought I would become the villain of my own family just because I decided to finally stand on my own feet. But here we are. If someone ever told me I'd have to defend myself against the two people who brought me into this world, I would have laughed. Loud, but courtrooms don't care about laughter. Courtrooms care about documents, signatures, receipts, and every bit of truth you can put under oath. This didn't start with court papers, it started with a house, my house, the first thing in my life I ever earned for myself. Let me take you back to the beginning, not to the lawsuit, but to why it happened. Because there's always a reason, even if the reason is stupid and selfish and wrapped in jealousy so thick it's basically drowning. The reason was Avery, my sister, the golden child, the princess. The one who never heard no because my parents believed the world would collapse if she didn't get everything she wanted. I was always in Avery's shadow, and sometimes I thought I liked it there. It was quiet, it was peaceful, nobody expected me to shine, they just expected me to keep the machine running. Alois, help your sister with her homework. Alois, take Avery to practice. Alois, don't argue, just let her have it. The first time it really hit me that we weren't equal was the day I got accepted to college. I ran downstairs holding the letter, hands shaking, heart on fire. I thought my parents would scream, would hug me, would take me out to celebrate, but I walked into the kitchen and found Avery crying because her boyfriend didn't text her back. My mom didn't even look at the envelope in my hand. She just said, Alois, can you handle dinner? I need to talk to your sister. I was excited for exactly 30 seconds, then I learned silence. But I didn't mind being invisible because being invisible teaches you something beautiful. You don't need applause to change your life, you just need determination. College was my escape. I worked 2 jobs, studied late, lived cheap, saved everything. I didn't ask my parents for $1. I wanted to say I did it. I wanted proof that I wasn't just Avery's shadow. After graduation, I kept saving. I worked like I was racing against time. And then 4 months ago, I did it. The biggest thing I ever did in my life. I bought a house, a small one, not fancy, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a tiny backyard with grass that would probably die in winter because I know nothing about lawn care. But it was mine, my name on the title, my money in the down payment, my signature on every page. My sweat, my sacrifices, my late nights, my entire future. I didn't tell my parents at first. I wanted to surprise them. I thought stupidly that maybe this time they would look at me the way they look at Avery. Proud, so I invited them to see it. I still remember the smell of fresh paint, the sunlight through the living room windows, the echo of empty rooms waiting for a life. I kept rehearsing in my head, surprise, I bought my first house. But when they walked in, they didn't smile. They didn't ask for a tour. They didn't congratulate me. My dad's first words were, why didn't you tell us? Avery needs a place, we could have put this in her name. And my mom, she said, you know your sister's situation, she's going through a lot, it would mean everything to her to live somewhere stable. I thought they were joking, truly. I waited for a laugh, a wink, a we're proud of you, sweetheart. But no jokes, no congratulations, just entitlement. Avery arrived later, uninvited, unannounced, walking in like she owned the place. She looked around and said, yeah, I'll take the bigger bedroom. Like it was already decided, like I was a placeholder, not a person. That was the moment I learned something about myself. Sometimes anger isn't loud, sometimes anger shows up quiet, steady, and cold. I said simply, clearly, without shaking, no one is taking this house, not you, not Avery, not anyone. Silence, like the world stopped. Avery blinked at me like I just spoke a language she didn't understand. Then she laughed, that surprised, sarcastic, spoiled kind of laugh. Alois, don't be dramatic. Mom and Dad already agreed, we'll transfer the title. Transfer the title to her, to Avery, like I was just leasing my own life until she showed up to claim it. I told them all to leave, they didn't move, so I stood in front of the door and said louder, get out. My parents stared at me like I'd become a stranger, and maybe in that moment I did. 3 days later, the PDF hit my inbox, a lawsuit. My parents suing me for a house I bought with my own money. They claimed verbal agreement. They claimed family property rights. They claimed I intended it for Avery. Lies stacked on lies like dirty dishes no one ever washed. And here's the part that still gets me. My parents hired a lawyer. Avery started packing her bags like moving in was guaranteed. And I, Alois, the girl who never asked for anything, found myself preparing to face them in court. The first night after receiving the legal notice, I didn't sleep. I paced. I breathed in short, broken gasps. I thought about giving up. I thought maybe it wasn't worth fighting. Maybe I should just hand it over, keep the peace, stay the good daughter. But somewhere around 4 a.m., sitting on the floor of the empty living room, staring at my laptop screen, I realized something. They expect me to surrender. They always have. But this time, surrender wouldn't be quiet. It would swallow me whole. So I opened a blank document and began typing something I never thought I'd need in this lifetime. Defense statement, civil action, Hayes versus Hayes. What happened next, what my parents said in that courtroom, what Avery admitted under oath changed everything. It didn't just expose them. It exposed decades of favoritism, secrets, and something my mother said to the judge that made Avery scream across the courtroom. You're joking, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Because to tell you how I won, I need to tell you everything they tried first. And trust me, this is only the beginning. When people talk about family drama, they think of raised voices at dinner, someone storming out, maybe a holiday ruined. Nobody ever pictures a fluorescent-lit courtroom at 9:00 a.m. on a rainy Thursday, a judge flipping through paperwork with your last name on every page. I didn't know what to wear to court. There isn't a manual for what to wear when your parents sue you. So I did the one thing that made sense. I wore neutral colors, white blouse, black pants, hair tied back. If anyone looked at me, I wanted them to see someone calm, someone rational, someone with nothing to hide. My lawyer, Rachel Green, was younger than I expected, 30 maybe, sharp eyes, clipped sentences. She shook my hand and said, "First rule, you don't speak unless I tell you to, and whatever they say, don't flinch." Don't flinch. I didn't answer her, but my heartbeat was loud enough to fill the whole lobby. And then they came in, my parents. My mother holding a purse like she was going to brunch, not trying to take her daughter's house. My father in a suit I hadn't seen since Avery's graduation, and behind them Avery, smiling, actually smiling. I can't explain that feeling. The feeling of watching someone who shares your DNA look happy at the thought of your loss. It was like being erased in real time. They sat on the opposite side. My mother didn't look at me. My father adjusted his tie and pretended to read something on his phone. Avery crossed her legs and whispered to my mom, who chuckled quietly like this was a game. Then the judge walked in and everything changed. His voice was flat, procedural, practiced. Case name, Hayes versus Hayes. Hearing it out loud made me dizzy. It wasn't just words on a document anymore. It was real. Rachel stood, calm as stone. My mother's lawyer, some man with silver hair and arrogance instead of aftershave, stood and gave the opening statement. And then I heard it, the lie that would set everything in motion. Your Honor, this property was purchased with the understanding that it would serve as a family asset, specifically for our client's eldest daughter, Avery Hayes. The defendant is attempting to withhold it unfairly in violation of verbal agreements and implied family trust. Family asset, implied trust. Verbal agreement, they said those words like they meant something, like they weren't twisting the truth into a weapon. Rachel didn't even look at me. She just started scribbling notes. She didn't blink. Then my mother took the stand. I thought maybe somewhere in her voice there would be hesitation, remorse, something human. But when she swore to tell the truth, she smiled. She said, "We always assumed the house was for Avery. She's the one who needs stability. Alois has always been independent. She doesn't mind, like I didn't care about the biggest thing I ever worked for." Rachel leaned in and whispered, "Breathe, let them finish. We'll dismantle it piece by piece." My father testified next. He said, "I promised the house to Avery." Avery nodded along, pretending to look sad, pretending to look wounded. "I just don't know why she's being so selfish about it," she told the judge, voice soft, eyes shiny like she practiced crying in a mirror. Selfish, me. The same girl who paid her own tuition, who paid her rent, who packed lunches while Avery got a credit card for emergencies and somehow spent thousands on spa days, handbags, and accidental online shopping. But then came the moment that changed everything. Rachel stood. "Your Honor, we have evidence," she said, "and a witness statement." The judge looked up. "A witness?" Rachel nodded. She couldn't be here in person, but she wrote everything down and it's signed and notarized. My mother's lawyer scoffed. "Who is this supposed witness?" Rachel didn't answer him. She faced the judge, a former friend of Avery's. Avery froze. For the first time since this whole thing started, she wasn't smiling. Rachel passed a sealed envelope to the bailiff. The judge opened it. He read in silence. Then he read again. His eyebrows moved, not up, not down, but together, like something nasty just crawled across the page. "Miss Hayes," he said finally, "would you like to explain this?" Avery's voice cracked. "What letter?" The judge handed a copy to her attorney, then another copy to Rachel, then one to me. I didn't breathe, I didn't blink. My hands shook as I unfolded it. It was a statement written by someone named Kendall Rivers. I didn't know the name at first, but I saw the dates. I saw the screenshots attached. I saw Avery's messages. Messages like, "I'll just guilt her into giving it to me. It's not fair she gets to buy a house before me. Mom and Dad said they'll force her legally if they have to." Force me legally. They were planning this before I even saw the house. The judge kept reading out loud. Then he reached the line that made Avery scream. "Worst case, she gives up and moves out. Mom said we'll take her to court if she resists. LOL, she's too weak to fight it." Avery shot to her feet so fast her chair slammed backward. "You're joking," she yelled, voice cracking, face red, panic pouring through every syllable. The judge banged his gavel once. "Sit down, Miss Hayes." She turned toward my mother. "Did you really say that?" My mother's face went white. She didn't speak. My father's jaw locked tight. Everyone stared. Even the silver-haired lawyer looked like he just swallowed a nail. Rachel didn't smile, not even a little, but I saw something in her posture, victory in progress. The judge cleared his throat. "We will recess for 30 minutes. I need to review the rest of this." Court officers let us out. Avery was crying now, ugly crying. My mother pulled her aside, whispering urgently. My father stared at the floor like it had answers. Rachel put a hand on my shoulder. Don't say a word, she warned. We still have more to show. I looked at the letter again, at the messy handwriting, the angry paragraphs, the attached screenshots. Whoever Kendall was, she ended every page with the same sentence. I'm tired of watching her hurt you. I folded the letter slowly. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel bitter. I felt something new. Not anger, not relief, something cold and steady. This ends with me because court wasn't finished, because Rachel had one more bomb to drop, because someone else had receipts that would prove the house wasn't the only thing they tried to take. What my parents hid, the secret bank transfers, the family fund, the stolen money, would come out next. And after lunch recess, when the judge called us back in, Rachel stood again and said 4 words that made the room go silent. Your Honor, we have bank records. Rachel said those 4 words like they were nothing, like they weren't about to shatter everything my parents thought they could control. Your Honor, we have bank records. You could have felt the air leave the room. Courtrooms are usually quiet anyway, but this silence was different, heavy, expectant. My mother's lawyer straightened up like somebody just slapped a file out of his hands. The judge lifted one eyebrow, interested for the first time all morning. Proceed, he said. Rachel tapped her folder twice like a drummer warming up before dropping the beat that ends a show. Your Honor, she began, my client purchased her home with her own money, documented income and legitimate savings. However, the plaintiffs have claimed this home was a family asset. So if that's true, where exactly is this family fund they keep referencing? Her voice didn't shake, mine would have. The silver-haired lawyer tried to object. Relevance, he snapped like that would fix everything. Relevance, Rachel repeated calmly, is proving motive, financial misconduct, and whether verbal agreements were fabricated to disguise appropriation of the defendant's earnings. Appropriation of my earnings. I looked at her, realizing what she meant. This wasn't just about taking the house, they took money too. Rachel slid a thick printed report to the bailiff. The judge flipped through page after page of bank statements. My parents checking, their savings, and one I had never seen before, joint account Robert Hayes and Avery Hayes, rows and rows of transactions, big ones, regular ones, 3 months apart, 6 months apart, always in round numbers. Rachel stepped closer, voice steady and lethal. Your Honor, these are withdrawals from my client's college savings account. The account was set up when she was 10 years old, funded partially by her father's workplace education benefits and partially by Aloyse's own earnings from age 18 through 22. Here you will see 12 transfers totaling over $72,000 moved into an account shared by Avery and her father. I heard it, a sound I never expected. My mother swallowed hard. Avery whispered, no, no, no. The judge squinted at one page, tapping it with his pen. Mr. Hayes, did you use money belonging to your younger daughter without her consent? My father's voice was flat and defensive. It was family money. We always help Avery when she needs it. It all evens out. Family money, the judge repeated with no emotion. And did you inform the defendant that you moved these funds? My father didn't answer. My mother tried to speak for him. Bad move. Aloyse never needed much, she said. She's responsible. Avery's life is harder. I didn't mean to speak, I really didn't, but the words came out before I could stop them. Because you made it harder. Rachel touched my wrist, a quiet reminder, don't engage, let evidence speak. The judge sighed, a long, slow exhale like someone trying to decide whether humanity is worth the paperwork. Counselor, he said to Rachel, what exactly are you asking this court to do? Rachel didn't hesitate. Dismiss the plaintiff's case immediately, declare the property legally and solely owned by Aloyse Hayes, and compel repayment of misappropriated funds used for the benefit of Avery Hayes. Avery's head snapped up. Repayment? I can't, that's impossible. Rachel wasn't done. One more item, Your Honor. She reached into her briefcase and I swear the room stopped breathing. Because from that bag she pulled an envelope, a simple, ordinary envelope, but one that had the power to take everything my parents built, everything they thought they could manipulate and flip it upside down. The defendant, Rachel said, left something for her family before this trial began, anticipating a dispute. I'd like to present it to the court now. I froze, my letter. The one I wrote at 4 a.m. on the living room floor when I realized they would rather break me than ever treat me equal. The judge nodded. Rachel opened it, not dramatically, not like a movie. Calm, clinical, professional, she read, to my parents and my sister, I will no longer give you the silence you expect from me. I will no longer carry burdens you pretend don't exist. This home is mine, my life is mine. Whatever promise you think I made, it exists only in your expectations, not in reality. I am done being the reliable backup for your mistakes. This is not a request, it is a declaration. She kept reading, and I could hear my own voice in every sentence. You say Avery deserves stability. I say I deserve respect. You say family comes first, but you never treated me like family, only like the solution to problems I didn't create. It wasn't a hate letter. It wasn't cruel. It was truth. Rachel's voice was steady, low, without emotion. I will not fight to belong in a place where I was always second choice. If you choose to fight me in court, the truth will follow. I won't run, not anymore. When she finished, there was no soundtrack, no gasp, just silence sharp enough to cut through bone. My mother was crying silently now, the kind of crying that comes when control evaporates and reality hits like a freight train. Avery wasn't crying anymore. She was angry, bright red, shaking, looking from mom to dad like someone betrayed her, not like she betrayed me. The judge closed the file. When he spoke, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, it was final. Case dismissed. The title is legally the defendant's property. Furthermore, the court finds sufficient evidence of misappropriation of funds. I strongly advise the plaintiffs to settle repayment in mediation before this matter escalates to criminal litigation. My father choked out, criminal. Rachel stepped in. Yes, she said, criminal. Fraud involving an educational trust is a felony in this state. It was over, not loud, not violent, not theatrical, just over. My parents' lawyer started whispering urgently, trying to convince them to leave. Avery stood there stiff, breathing hard, face red from anger and humiliation. I didn't feel happy, not exactly. I felt clean, like something heavy finally dissolved. We walked out. Rachel didn't say congratulations. She just said, give it time, they'll contact you, don't answer. Outside the courthouse, the weather had changed. The rain stopped. Air smelled like asphalt and relief. My parents didn't come after me. Avery didn't scream in the parking lot. No dramatic confrontation. Sometimes endings are quiet. Sometimes the loudest victory is walking away. That night I slept in my house, surrounded by boxes and silence and a future that finally felt like mine. A week later, Avery texted, "You seriously ruined everything. Hope you're happy." I didn't reply. My mother wrote a long email, half apology, half excuses. I didn't reply. My father sent 2 sentences. "We didn't think you'd fight this hard. I guess we never really knew you." He was right. They never knew me. They never asked to. I spent that evening on the living room floor, just like the night I wrote that letter, except this time nothing felt uncertain. I looked around at the walls, the windows, the tiny yard outside. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger, not fear, not revenge, freedom. I used to think loyalty meant staying silent. I used to think family meant sacrifice without recognition. Now I know this. Family isn't who claims you. Family is who respects you. And sometimes walking away is the only way to keep yourself whole. The house is still small. The yard still needs work. The paint still smells new. But every corner, every inch of it says the same thing when I walk through the door. You fought for me. And that fight ended one truth. I will never let anyone decide my worth again.